So this year I'm trying something a little bit new. I want to sort of embrace like more of a no buy, low buy lifestyle, not just with knitting, but just in general. I'd really like to try to just use up what I have before I go out and buy new items. So today I decided to sort through my yarn stash and kind of brainstorm some project ideas to see what I'd like to add to my knitting queue. I am at the tail end of my current whips now, so it's kind of time for me to think about what I'd like to cast on anyway. So hopefully I can get some inspiration from this. Honestly, I haven't looked at my yarn stash for a while, so I feel like I kind of forgot what's in there. So let me go grab it. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my current yarn stash. It's not huge, but there's definitely a lot in there that I would like to use up. So let me go ahead and get started with what's right on top. So first up, I have these Caron Macchiato cakes. I actually purchased these about a month ago. I used this yarn in a different colorway to knit my step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller. And I get a lot of use out of that sweater. I really like it. And I also like the yarn. So it is composed of 80% acrylic and 20% wool. And I think that 20% wool really lends to the breathability of this yarn because I was a little bit intimidated about the acrylic content the first time I used it, just because I know acrylic yarn is really stuffy for me. But I think the 20% wool helps because I don't feel stuffy when I'm wearing my last sweater I made with this. So I'm hoping to get some use out of it, hopefully with the, I think, step-by-step cardigan I kind of want to try, but I'm not totally sure. I'm not like running to use this right now, so I think I'm just going to set it to the side for now. And this is in the color Turbo Turquoise. It is a bulky weight yarn, and each skein is 227 grams and 481 yards. So 2 skeins together would be about enough to make like a cropped sweater or a cardigan, which is what I think I'm going to use these for. I don't have any specific pattern in mind, so I'm just going to set these aside because I know I'm not going to use these like in my next project or anything. So I'm going to set them aside and see if maybe later I can find a pattern that I would really like to use these for. All right, so next up is Hobby Lobby's I Love This Yarn in the color brown. I have 2 skeins of this, and this is a worsted weight 100% acrylic yarn. I think I purchased this in October. My daughter asked me specifically to knit her a brown sweater, and then I took her to Hobby Lobby to pick out some yarn, and she picked this specific skein out, and then I asked her what she thinks her little sister would want. She picked out brown as well. So I'm not super excited to knit 2 plain brown toddler sweaters, but it is kind of something that I need to do soon. But it's also not something I want to do for my next project, I think. And the pattern that I plan on using for this is the good old raglan pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it has sizes ranging all the way from like baby to adult, and it's free, which is great. And I have a lot of sock yarn, so I kind of forgot about these. When I first started knitting socks, I bought a bunch of Patons Croy sock yarn because a video tutorial that I watched said that this was a good workhorse yarn or a good first time sock knitter's yarn. So I bought a bunch of colors, and these are the only 2 I have left, I think. Oh no, I have one more. So these are all the skeins I have left. So I have 2 skeins of the colorway Clover Colors, 2 skeins of Turquoise Stripes, and then 1 skein of muslin. So I actually have the finished sock in muslin here, so I just need to knit the second sock. So that I'm going to put aside because I already know what I'm going to use this for. For these 2, I'm also going to be using them for socks. This is a 4-ply sock yarn composed of 75% wool and 25% nylon, and each skein is 50 grams and 166 yards. In the past, I use about like 75% of a skein to knit a crew length sock. Both of these are variegated, so I do think I'm just going to do vanilla socks for both of these because if I were to do any sort of like texture pattern, I think the variegation and the texture would sort of be like competing with each other. I don't think it would look very flattering. So these will go in my pile for future projects for vanilla socks. Okay, so I forgot that I had this at all. This is super old. This is a Cascade Yarns 220 Superwash Wave in the color, I don't know, I can't see a color. It doesn't have a color name, but the color number is 120. So I purchased this back when I lived in New Jersey. My apartment was like 2 blocks away from a local yarn store. And at the time, I was only into crochet. I hadn't learned to knit yet. Sometimes I would just go to the local yarn store just like for fun to look at stuff. And they had this on a display, and I thought it was so pretty that I purchased 2 skeins. I used one skein to make an amigurumi octopus, like one of those ones that folds inside out and like one side is happy and one side is sad. I think I gave that away to one of my coworkers at the time. But this is composed of 100% superwash wool, and it is a 100-gram skein that contains 220 yards. It's really pretty. It has like a really pretty spring. Oops, I just accidentally unraveled the hank. It's like bright spring green and like a purple and a light blue. It's just really pretty. I would love to use this, I think, for like a hat maybe for my daughter or something for her. I think this colorway is really cute for like something for her. I don't think I would really wear anything made out of this colorway, so I don't know. I'm going to set this aside so that I can look up future projects for this. So next up is some Lion brand Kobu. I actually got this from my local Walmart. I got this about a year ago, and I had plans to make a tank top with this. I had the color white. I actually bought 3 colors just because I have no self-control and I was so excited about it. I got like this light purple color, which is silver. I got this kind of dark tealy navy blue, which is steel blue, and I had a plain white color. So I cast on a tank top pattern that I was really excited to knit. It was my first summer knit, and it was knit flat. So I used straight needles to knit it, and I got really frustrated because this yarn is so slippery that it just kept completely like flying off the needles. So like every time I would set the project down or like put it away somewhere, inevitably I would drop a bunch of stitches every time. So I got so frustrated, I just gave up, and I think I donated that yarn. I'd really like to try again to either make the same tank top or maybe a different pattern, because I really like the feel of this yarn, and I remember when I knit my swatch, I really enjoyed the fabric that it made. So I think I'm ready to give it another go. I don't know if I'll use the same tank top pattern or a different one, but maybe I can look on Ravelry and see what I find. So a little bit about this yarn. This is a DK weight, 51% cotton, 49% rayon from Bamboo, and each skein is 100 grams and contains 232 yards. So I'm pretty sure I want to use these for a tank top. Since winter has basically just started here, I don't think I'm going to be knitting a tank top anytime soon. So I'm actually going to set these aside to put them kind of like in the back of my cube. I also have this loops and thread silky soft rayon from Bamboo. This is in the color soft mauve. I have 2 skeins, and this is composed of 100% rayon from Bamboo. So it's super shiny, and it's definitely, I can just tell from like holding the skein that this would be super, super drapey in any kind of garment. I'm kind of like intrigued to use this for something. I want to keep it. I think probably another tank top, if I'm being honest. Or maybe, I think this would look really cute too as like one of those head scarves or like a headbandy kind of thing. Each skein is 100 grams and contains 240 yards. So I have a lot of it. I think I have enough to make a tank top. This is kind of heavy too. This is so weird. I've never felt a yarn like this. Anyway, I'm going to set this aside so that I can look up projects on Ravelry for this. Ooh, okay. I definitely want to use this. So I think this will be my next project. This is a skein of Nitty Gritty Fiber Arts Royal Select in the color Moki Hana Berry. This is a fingering weight yarn composed of 70% superfine merino wool, 20% royal alpaca, and 10% mulberry silk. And it's 100 grams or 437 yards. So this I purchased from a local yarn store in New Mexico when I was visiting my parents in Santa Fe. I can't remember the name of the store, but if I find it, I will put it on the screen. This is super soft. When I actually bought this, I planned to use it for a pair of socks. But now that I'm a little bit more experienced, I kind of get the feeling this shouldn't really be used for socks. just because usually sock yarn has like a little bit of nylon to give it durability. And I can tell just from the feel of this, it's super soft, and I don't think it would be durable enough to use for a pair of socks. So I think I want to use this for a Musselburgh hat. I've wanted to knit a Musselburgh hat forever. It's kind of one of those patterns that I feel like everybody knits, like as a knitter, like everyone has knit at least one. So it's already wound into a ball. It's like ready to go. So I think this will be my next cast on once I finish one of my current whips. So I'm going to put this at the front of the queue. And then next up is a skein of Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia Organic Merino. This is in the color Seafoam. I actually bought this from the same local yarn store where I purchased my previous skein of the Nitty Gritty Fiber Arts yarn. This, I have no idea what I want to use this for. This is composed of 100% wool. It's a DK weight yarn, and this is a 100-gram skein, which contains 382 yards. So I'll have to find a pattern for this. I don't know. I don't know what I could use with a single skein of DK weight yarn. So I'm going to put this in the pile of pending projects where I need to look up a project on Ravelry to use this for. Okay, so I'm almost done. I have 2 more yarns. This is a yarn I got from a local yarn store in New Jersey. The yarn store is called Wool Bears, and this is their Woolly Bears HT base, which is composed of 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's a fingering weight yarn. I'll probably use this for socks. Actually, I think I want to use this for either a headband or some mittens, I think, fingerless mittens. I'm probably not going to use this anytime soon because I really, really don't want to wind it into a ball. I don't have a Yarn Swift or a yarn like cake ball winder. So I have to do all of that by hand, and it takes forever. So I'm going to set this at the back of my cube because I know I'm not going to be motivated enough to wind this into a ball anytime soon. All right, and last up is my Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in the color Sapphire Heather. I used this to recently knit my Sophie hood, but I have quite a bit left over. So for the Sophie hood, I actually used 4.5 skeins, which I thought I used 7.5. I don't know why I thought that. So upon counting them, I've realized I only used 4.5 skeins for the Sophie hood. So I'm probably going to use the remaining 6 skeins to make, I know I want to make some like garter stitch mittens to match the Sophie hood, but I'm still going to have a lot left over after that because I think 1 skein will make 2 mittens, I'm pretty sure, or at least 2. But even if I use 1 skein per mitten, I'll still have like 4.5 skeins left over. So I'm going to put 2 of these in my queue because I know I'm going to use at least 2 to make some mittens. And then the rest I'm going to put aside into my pile of pending projects. So in conclusion, next I'm going to cast on a Musselburgh hat with this Nitty Gritty Royal Select. Next up in my queue is a pair of garter stitch mittens with this Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted. And then I always have at least 1 pair of socks on the needles. So after I finish my current pair of socks, I'll cast on one of these for a pair of vanilla socks, and then subsequently another pair of vanilla socks with whichever pair I don't cast on next. So those are going to be next up in my queue as well. All of my summer knit yarn is sort of at the back of the queue, and along with my hank of sock yarn that I don't feel like winding. Also, this Caron Macchiato Cakes, kind of at the back of the queue. I don't plan on doing another garment anytime soon. And then I'd also like to make my daughters their sweaters in the near future, so I'm also going to kind of put this towards the front of the queue. And then the rest is stuff that I need to look up projects for. It feels pretty good to have everything organized, to know where I am with my yarn stash, and hopefully be able to use some of it up and kind of get into that low buy, no buy mentality for this year. So thanks for hanging out with me. If you're still here, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.